everyone, this is our video for TU103 project. There will be 3 parts in our video. The first part will be about the Berne Convention and how it is related to the 7 principles of international environmental laws. Next topic is about the corporate government failure. And lastly, the lesson we have learned from the project. So let's get started. What is the Berne Convention? The Berne Convention is a binding international legal instrument in the field of nature conservation, covering most of the natural heritage of the European continent and extending to some states of Africa. When? The convention was opened for signature on 19 September 1979. And when was it came into force? On 1st July 1982. Countries signed up to the convention? 50 countries and the European Union have already signed up to the convention and committed to promoting national conservation policies. What are the aims of this convention? Well, there are 3 main aims. First, the convention aims to ensure conservation of wild flora and fauna species in their habitats. Special attention is given to endangered and vulnerable species, including endangered and vulnerable migratory species specified in appendices. How about the second aim? The second one is that the convention establishes a standing committee on which the parties are represented by their delegates. Can you explain more about the committee? Yes, sure. The principal task of it is to monitor the provisions of this convention in the light of development of the wild flora and the assessment of its need. Our standing committee is specially competent to make recommendations to the parties and amendments to the appendices where these protected species are specified. Now, the last one is to promote cooperation between states. This convention sounds pretty interesting. So, shall we get into more details? Yes. This convention requires the cooperation of several states within the country, which means it is related to the first principle of international environmental law, sovereignty and responsibility. States have sovereign rights over their natural resources and should not cause damage to the environment. We will illustrate how our convention is related to 4 out of 7 principles of international environmental laws. First, this convention requires the cooperation of several states within the country, which means it is related to the first principle of international environmental law, sovereignty and responsibility. States have sovereign rights over their natural resources and should not cause damage to the environment. Second, the convention requires all members to cooperate with each other to preserve wild flora, fauna, and their natural habitats in the borderline, also avoiding any harm on the ecosystem in order to prevent an effect on other members' territories. You can see that it's similar to the second principle, good neighborliness and international cooperation. This principle states that the neighboring countries need to avoid any environmental harm because they are likely to share common resources along the borderline. By doing that, they will be able to preserve wild flora, fauna, and natural habitats. For the third principle, preventive action. The state is under the obligation to prevent damage within its own jurisdiction. In this case, our convention also has a similar type of obligation. There are obligations concerning the conservation of the habitats, species, and migrated animals. Apart from that, there are also obligations of the contracting parties concerning cooperation, research, reintroduction, and introduction of species. Lastly, the aims of our convention are to preserve the wild flora, fauna, and their habitats. It is similar to the last principle, sustainable development, which is a development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. And for the governance failure, we want to talk about Boeing Corporation and its mistaken governance that cost over 300 innocent lives. Let's start with an overview on the topic. Boeing is one of the biggest airplane manufacturers. They want to achieve higher sales than its competitor, Airbus. Boeing designed a new plane with a bigger engine and called it the 737 MAX. They claim it is the same plane as the old one, but with a better engine, so airlines could save money from retraining the pilots. But this is where the problem started. It is not the same plane. The MAX new engine couldn't quite fit beneath its wing and had to be moved forward. That caused the plane nose to point up, potentially risking a stall. So, Boeing came up with MCAS, or Maneuvering Characteristic Augmentation System, a software program designed to counter that instability, which when activated would force the plane nose down. But this software program that let the system operate the flight control over the pilot was kept secret, because Boeing wants to get the plane out as soon as possible. After the first crash, the company blamed it on the pilot even though they knew it was because of the MCAS system. It was not until the second plane crashed that they admitted it was their company's fault. In the original draft, they even put a warning on the MCAS system in the cockpit, but it was removed in the last draft. 346 people have died because of their hunger for money. Other governance failure are their effort to cover up in-house criticism. Many employees of Boeing saw the problem with the design, a drop in safety standards, and the rush to manufacture the MAXes on order. They requested the operation to be shut down, but the board member did nothing. Another governance failure involved the FAA, or Federal Aviation Administration. Their job is to ensure aircraft are ready to fly, but in Boeing's case, the rules were different. The FAA and Boeing have a problematic relationship. The company was allowed to use their own employees to represent the FAA, meaning Boeing is able to certify its own aircraft. For governance failure, first, their claim that the 737 MAX is just like the 737, so airlines don't need to spend money on pilot retraining. Second, poor design, poor safety management, and poor oversight, particularly when it comes to risk analysis, ignoring safety concerns from their own employees. Third, put the self-certifying system or the MCAS in without warning. And last one, the FAA let Boeing certify their own aircrafts without a thorough oversight. Here's our conclusion. We have learned that the Berne Convention was established for preserving and protecting animals, plants, and their habitats. By conserving wildlife, we're ensuring that future generations can enjoy our natural world and the incredible species that live within it. Also, to have 50 countries and the European Union signed up to this convention, it shows us that the cooperation can make goal achievement becomes easy, interpersonal relations get strengthened. And for the governance failure, these tragedies happen because of the greed of Boeing Corporation. They put their profits before the safety of their customers. This tragic event has set an example of bad governance. It made people and corporations around the world know the importance of governance and safety analysis. If said company had done a better job at governing, these catastrophic events wouldn't have happened.